Overwatch Season 1's Talent Reign has just been released, and with it, 5 new heroes that are sure to shake things up for the near future. One of those heroes is Anran, sister of Wuyang and fiery DPS, who we were able to play as part of a hero trial. During that week, I dedicated myself to play her intensively, so I could make this complete guide for anyone that wants to try her out or master her gameplay. With that being said, this is being recorded before any balance changes that might have been made after a trial, so take that in mind if there has been any change to how her abilities function. In this guide, not only will I go over each of Anran's abilities, but explain how they are meant to be used, some small tips, tricks, and interactions with each one of them, as well as an overall look into how you should play her in a real game. Before starting, if you enjoy the video, remember to leave a like and subscribe, as it helps me a ton to make future videos, and I plan to make a similar guide for the heroes releasing this year, so you're not gonna want to miss them out. As a general tip, I would recommend you to increase your sensibility to the numbers used as Tracer or Genji, as she is a hero that requires a lot of fast movements and 180s to succeed. Her passive is what you're going to be playing around the game. Ignition allows Anran to fill a bar that when fully stacked will burn the target. She can stack it with both attacks and abilities, with each having a different amount. Her primary stacks 25% per projectile, which gets doubled if you get a crit, her secondary 25%, both her rush and dancing blaze 50%, and both of her ultimates will fully stack it. All of these abilities except for the ultimates have reduced effects on tanks. The burn itself deals a small amount of damage, but it enables her secondary fire, which is the primary way you will score kills while playing as her. As a general rule, it's best to try to have at least half of the bar filled before engaging on an enemy, so you aren't forced to waste multiple abilities trying to fill it, as it can take enough time for the enemy to save whoever you're targeting, while leaving you without any escape options. Against targets that can cleanse themselves, like Moira or Reaper, or if they have someone who can cleanse others like Kiriko or Zarya, you might want to force them to use those cooldowns or wait them out naturally before going in, as needing to fill it twice at close range would simply get you killed every time. Another very important aspect is the fact that the bar will completely reset if you don't hit the enemy for around 3 seconds, so you really want to commit against one enemy rather than trying to spread out your damage, or you will never be able to actually stack it. Hitting an enemy that is burning with any attack or ability will keep the burn effect up. Anran's primary fire launches 2 fire projectiles that deal 48 damage each, can crit, and stack ignition. This is one of the lowest damage per second primaries in the entire game, and despite its visuals, the projectile is rather small and slow, making it hard to hit at longer distances. As a whole, you should try to avoid playing her too far back, as you don't get any value from spamming this. You usually want to stay at mid-range, where it's a bit more reliable and you will be able to use her abilities and secondary to get up close and finish people off. Anran's secondary fire is a wave of piercing beams, meaning that they don't get blocked by matrices like D.Va or Sigmas, that deal damage and stack ignition. If an enemy is ignited, the wave will deal double damage and triplicate the damage over time from the burn. This is your main damage ability as long as the enemy is already ignited or about to be, as the first wave will apply ignition and the others will deal the extra damage, as well as amplifying the burn damage. It's also very important to point out that it is a volley of projectiles, meaning you need to track the entire time to get the maximum damage possible. The range of the volley is only 10 meters, so you will need to play around that range when an enemy is ignited to pressure them and potentially kill them. Her secondary fire ammo is independent from her primary, so if you run out of either and the enemy is getting away at low HP, you can use the other to finish them off. This is especially useful if the enemy is already ignited, as the other weapon will keep the burn up. Holding both her primary and secondary will make them wave between one another, with the crit burn staying up until your next secondary. This gives her the highest DPS potential if you land your primary headshots, but it can be near impossible to aim consistently on a moving target. You can use allies' burn effects to amplify the damage of your secondary, as well as applying the bonus burn damage. Anran's first ability imbues her in fire, leaping forward and granting movement speed, as well as dealing damage, knocking back, and applying ignition to enemies. Rush, similar to D.Va's booster, can be used for as a reposition tool as well as a burst damage option, and the tool you should use whenever someone gets on top of you, not only to get out, but with the stacking half of your passive, you can quickly turn around the fight or force them away. If you're at melee range, you can potentially hit it twice on a single target, instantly igniting the enemy. Because it has 2 charges, you can usually invest one of them offensively, while saving the other to reposition or escape as needed, and even when used as an escape tool, you can usually try to hit someone on your way back due to its duration. The way the movement of the ability works is as follows. If you look forward when you start the ability, you will simply go forward. If you look up, it will function similar to Winston's dip and will give you a bit of verticality. This ability can be cancelled prematurely, which can be used to burst someone you hit with the ability, as well as a movement burst option. Anran's second ability turns her invulnerable for a short duration, dealing damage and stacking ignition to any enemy around the targeted area. The duration of the invulnerability will increase slightly for each target inside. During the startup, you can move to the direction you want to move slightly at the end of it. Very slightly. But it's important to know as it can mess up your crosshair position, even if slightly, and it could also very well be increased a bit on her release patch. The most important use case for this ability is to dodge any strong ability the enemy may have, especially ones that can stun you or have a long startup, like Signal Rock, Cassidy's Nade, and so on. You can use it as a damage tool, especially being the most reliable way to stack ignition, but you should try only to do so if it's safe and the enemy wasted the abilities mentioned before. Another practical use is that it cleanses yourself of things like Anna's Nade or Freya's explosive bolts, so its defensive applications far outclass the likes of Genji Deflect, for example. One small detail to consider: there is a physical based attack, meaning stuff like Genji's Deflect or Venetta's Block will block it completely. Anran has two ultimates, the first one being Vermilion Ascent, which launches you into the air, allowing you to free flight for a bit and launch yourself to the selected area, dealing damage, pulling enemies in, and igniting them. Her ultimate isn't a game changer, but can easily set up fights, as well as being a free way to access the enemy backline. That being said, there are many things to consider before ulting. First, it has a decently long startup, so you will not be able to launch it immediately, making it not the greatest on a 1v1 scenario or as a last resource. It will get you killed most of the time. Secondly, you are slow while flying, so don't expose yourself for long or you will get put down by the enemy hitscan. After landing the ult, it launches you back and upwards, so you have to know the position you will end up to be able to quickly finish off an ignited enemy. Lastly, it has a maximum range of 40 meters, which means you won't be able to literally fly across the map, but it's still a great target access to. Vermilion Revival is her second ultimate, and as the name implies, it allows you to revive in the same position you died after a decently long cast time. It deals small damage over time till you revive, where you burst in flames, dealing damage, knocking enemies back, and igniting enemies. You're able to use it after up to 5 seconds since the moment you died, so it can be a decent zoning tool if you die in a small place like a choke point. Be careful though, you are vulnerable right after reviving, so you can get instantly killed right after you use it, not only delaying your respawn, but completely wasting your ultimate. You do not reset your cooldowns when using it, so it may be smart to wait some seconds if Dancing Blade is off cooldown, as it is the most reliable defensive tool after you revive. That being said, both of her ultimates do reload her weapons, so you don't need to think about how much ammo you had when you died. For minor perks, Smolder increases her burn duration, while Hit Shield grants 60 over health per target hit by either of her ults per target up to 180. To be honest, both are not that great, but I believe Hit Shield to be the most impactful. The extra burn duration can help keep up your damage up, as well as making her ult a bit stronger, but the damage itself is pretty negligible. On the other hand, Hit Shield not only allows Anran to use her ult as an initiation tool without instantly dying, but also makes it harder for the enemy to camp her revive. Her ult has a rather low charge time, so you can use it a lot for an ultimate perk. For major perks, Short Fuse reduces the cooldown of Inferno Rush by 1.5 seconds for each target hit, while Hungering Blaze heals Anran by 50 for each target hit by Dancing Blaze. Most of the time, Short Fuse is the better perk as of right now. While the healing can be nice, you will find that most of the time you will either hit no one or a single target with Dancing Blaze, making it far less potent than what Short Fuse allows. Mind you, if the enemy is playing all close to each other and you have no way to find isolated targets, then this is the better one. But the other major one can enable a really aggressive and mobile playstyle, as you can constantly loop between enemies with Rush, as long as the enemy isn't full of melee or close range heroes. You can easily get 3 Rush in a row and have the next one shortly after, which not only is more mobility, but also more damage and ignition procs. It's also honestly just a ton of fun, so I recommend this one unless the enemy is very close quarters oriented as I mentioned, since you can easily get killed while trying to move around enemies. Anran is a dive DPS that excels at moving around the map, poking at mid-close ranges, getting in deep only when you need to ensure you can finish someone off, or you have enough resources to get in and out safely. She's pretty similar to Genji, so anyone that plays him will have a lot of affinity with her, but while Genji has a bit more effective range and burst potential, Anran has a lot more defensive options that allow her to be more selfish and risky, similar to how Tracer is meant to be played, going in, trading resources and trying to get a kill or get out, as their damage output isn't high enough to reliably get picks by themselves. She can feel a bit inconsistent at times due to her slow primary, but once you get the hang out of it and play around corners close to the enemy, you will start pressuring them reliably, forcing people to try to jump you or to take other angles, which, thanks to her movements, can be harder than it looks. Overall, you should never waste your time poking the tank, not only because of her low damage overall, but since her passive is harder to stack on them, it can be really hard to actually ignite them, which is the only way to deal any meaningful and consistent damage, which is made worse by the fact that most tanks have shields or matrices that will block your primary for enough time to reset the ignition bar. Instead, focus only on rather squishy heroes, especially the ones without ways of self-cleansing like Reaper or Kiriko. But even then, forcing abilities like Susu or Raid Form can easily force them away or get them killed, which thanks to your mobility can usually end up on a positive trade, allowing your team to gain space or the objective. Her overall positioning, as we have been mentioning, is very reminiscent of Tracer's, but unlike her, it's more flexible if her comp doesn't allow for the high-risk playstyle she really excels at. She's really good with rush comps as she can move with her team, saving her cooldowns for offense and getting in range safely thanks to your tank, and usually either a Lucio or Juno providing speed. On certain maps, she can hold space really well, especially on high grounds, complementing the more anchored playstyle of a PoE tank like Sigma or the new Domina. Basically, you can be very creative in the way you play her and find success while being flexible with the environment presented. The only heroes you really want to avoid are the same that can easily burst you at close range and have enough mobility to catch up to you like Venture or Vendetta. Those two are really awful to go against as they are hard to react or escape. Cooldown management is also key on this hero, as sometimes you may get a kill but you suddenly wasted your entire kit, getting yourself killed in the process. On your first games you will probably find yourself dying a lot because of it, and the difference between a bad and good Anran player will be heavily reflected on their death counts. Of course, due to her revive, trading a 1-for-1 can be really strong, but you still need to ensure your team is close enough for you not to get killed instantly after reviving, which would make it even worse for your team. Her total rush cooldown is almost 20 seconds, so managing charges is crucial to not get killed by accident, as well as optimizing her uptime and dive potential. For the last section, I will show you myself playing Anran and commenting about what I'm doing, as well as explaining my mistakes. I'm not the best at commenting over gameplay, but I hope it still can help anyone watching how she is supposed to be played on a real game. This map is honestly quite good, I think, for Anran. Get a lot of close space for your rush. I don't like, we have Mercy Moira, but I can ignore. Thankfully we have an Ashe, so those burns that are on yours also work. You can see that the main thing on Anran is you need to focus on a single target. So here I'm going to try to kill Cassidy. Because your ignite just goes away very fast. It's especially hard to stack it on tanks. Usually want to be waiting on a corner like here, like rather close to the enemy. Her projectiles look big, but as I mentioned on the guide, they're not actually that big. So I'm gonna go in and out. Dancing myself from the burn, and I die anyways. I have now almost my ult up. Probably better to wait for the next fight, but still. I can do that because I can revive. Unfortunately, it will die, but I took the burn one mainly because I already used my ult in these fast modes. I'm dancing can be better. I think the ultimate perk is better most of the time. They're both. It's very high execution. I want to say you really can't afford to miss. There I made a mistake, so I was just holding for like the point. You need to focus on someone. I basically was just attacking everyone, so I just didn't get any kills. But still made enough time for us to capture the point. It's also important to note that the burn can help there, for example, to just like keep pressure. So that minor perk is useful. So, neither are great. I think they're both pretty mediocre. Yeah, Pocketed Cassie is a really bad matchup for Anran. He has a rather big hitbox for the type of hero, and if he hits you with Hinder, you're basically dead. She wasted Susu. And Hurry is also the most reliable like finishing tool. If you see someone low HP and you're in range, just use it most of the time. It has a rather low cooldown, so it's useful offensively. You just don't want to force yourself to use it that way. It's better to use your rush for ignition and just landing your shots. Use this for cleanse. And you can see maybe there, for example, the overhealth would have been quite good. The other ignition perk does help with your ult. Makes it a bit stronger. Get away. Chip Cassie down. They dodged the grenade. And it was an easy kill. Those are that's how Anran wins 1v1s. Basically, you get in, you dodge the most important ability, and you win. If you don't, you are a bit screwed. Unfortunately, this time he did save it, so I got killed. He also Kiriko came. Fortunate. You can tell. Fortunate, but yeah, cleanse the Junker win ult and I need to go back. I almost have my ultimate, so here in this kind of points, the revive is really strong. You can just go in, burn everyone, and revive. Unfortunate. Yeah, basically burning everyone. Get the kill. And that's how you play Anran, basically. Not the best commenting gameplay, but I think you get an idea of how you should be playing her to win. Hope that it helps you, and hope to see you in the next video.